For a lot of people, the gym was their first introduction to climbing. It's a safe, controlled, and fun environment for us to flail around and eventually develop some skill at this exciting and slightly scary sport. At some point, we find the opportunity to venture outside. And that's where we realize that doing this sport in its raw essence is a completely new and profound experience. The transition from gym to crag can evoke anything on the emotional spectrum of, I want to quit climbing, to, I never realized how beautiful climbing can be. As someone who has experienced both ends of that spectrum, I hope to share some of my best insights and tips for making your time outside enjoyable. This video will break down the key components of an outdoor climbing venture, including logistics, preparation, climbing, and safety. One of the most overlooked components of outdoor climbing is actually getting to the climbing area itself. Arriving at the parking lot is one thing, but locating the approach, staying on trail, and finding the crag or boulders can prove to be tricky. Here are a few ways you can ensure that you'll make it to the rock. Guidebooks are considered the most detailed source for getting to know a new climbing area. They have information on driving directions, the approach, GPS coordinates for the crag or boulder, and pictures and descriptions for each route or problem. I find guidebooks to be invaluable for outdoor bouldering. Having the GPS coordinates for each boulder is very useful if you're in a big widespread area. I like to download the area on Google Maps and save the coordinates ahead of time, as most of these climbing spots have little to no reception. If you find yourself lost or off trail, you can still be confident that you're at least walking in the general right direction. Mountain Project is a great online resource for information on crags, routes, and boulders. I use it mostly for researching sport climbing areas and learning about the routes. The website is a crowdsourced platform, so the details you get can vary based on the person sharing the info. In my experience, the site has a broader database on roped climbing than boulders, unless it's a highly trafficked area. It's helpful to check Mountain Project a few days before your climbing trip. They have accurate info on weather, as well as updates on closures and safety concerns. This may be the option that requires the least effort, as you'll have someone to guide you directly to the climbing. Just make sure they actually know the area well enough so that you won't end up bushwhacking or wandering in circles. Make sure to check with your guide ahead of time on what you should prepare. A common question might be, "Hey, how's the approach?" Which translates to, "Can I just wear flip-flops or do I actually need real shoes?" Sun is one of the ultimate enemies of outdoor climbers. It saps your strength and makes the rock warm and slick.
Greasy shit.
Many experienced climbers will plan their day by monitoring the sun angles and chasing shade. For areas where you absolutely can't avoid the sun, such as on the approach, wear sunscreen and bring lots of water. Cold is generally good for outdoor climbing. It keeps your hands dry and sharpens the texture of the rock. The term sending temps is usually indicative of a cooler day, around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, where the conditions are ideal for climbing. But don't freeze to death for the sake of sending. Check the forecast ahead of time and prep some extra layers for when you're in between climbs. For me personally, I like to pack a bunch of light and nutrition-dense snacks. Jerky for salt and protein, a bar or two for sugar and carbs, and some nut butter packs as a compact form of fat and calories. When I'm sport climbing outside, my approach is to snack intermittently between climbs to maintain my energy level. I never break for lunch and consume a full meal, as the long digestive period would oftentimes affect my performance. For bouldering, the main item you want to invest in is a crash pad. These come in a variety of different sizes and configurations, with the most common being the standard 4x3 foot bifold. This means the landing surface measures 4 by 3 feet and the pad folds into two halves. This is often the best choice for folks new to outdoor bouldering, as the price point is relatively low, and the pad is a convenient size for bringing to group outings. You'll want to have at least 3 people in your group, with the pad to people ratio at 1:1. The more pads, the bigger the area you can cover, and the safer your experience will be. The essential gear for sport climbing includes a rope and quick draws. Ropes typically come in lengths of 60 or 70 meters with varying diameters. Some routes are so long that they can only be climbed with a 70 meter, so I recommend spending the extra money and getting the longer rope. You'll also need a minimum of 12 quick draws. These come in sets of 6 and are considered a long-term purchase. So go ahead and get the slightly more expensive ones because chances are you won't have to replace them for many years. Other items to consider for sport climbing include a helmet, belay gloves, and belay glasses. Helmets are usually worn by belayers to protect against falling rock, but are also worn by climbers to protect against head collisions on bad falls. Belay gloves are a cheap purchase that go a long way towards protecting your hands from dirt and rope burn. Belay glasses, otherwise known as beloggles, are very useful for maintaining a neutral neck position when belaying. This saves you a lot of soreness from spending all that time craning your neck to see your climber. Lastly, I strongly suggest you invest in a gree or any form of assisted braking belay device. Not only does this drastically improve the safety of your experience, but it also saves you a lot of effort from not having to actively weight the brake hand when your climber is hanging. The gym has spoiled us. We're used to an innumerable selection of easy climbs within sight to systematically warm up before tackling the harder routes. Outdoors, you work with what you got. Sometimes you're at a boulder that only has 3 V8s available. Your course of action can be to warm up by repeating the easier sequences, or by isolating the harder moves and doing them one at a time. A great tool for warming up outside is the Easy Board by Frictitious Climbing. It's a simple and portable hangboard that you can use to comfortably warm up your fingers. It comes with multiple edges of varying depths to address whatever holds or hand positions you expect to use later in your session. If you're at the Crag, you can even hang it off a quick draw and do full body hangs or pull-ups. For those interested, I've left a link to the Easy Board in the video description. Of all the facets of outdoor climbing that a gym climber will experience, the expectation versus reality of how they will perform is the most shocking. The most obvious difference is the grading and difficulty of the routes. A lot of people perform fairly well at the gym, but struggle to match their grades outside. This can be due to a few reasons. Gym climbs are typically graded a lot softer than outdoor climbs. This is to accommodate newer climbers by creating a lower barrier to entry and encouraging steady, visible progress. In my experience, you can roughly convert an outdoor grade to an indoor grade by adjusting it up 2 increments. For example, an outdoor V3 can feel like an indoor V5, and a 510C outside feels closer to a 511A inside. However, once you get closer to V10 or 513, the gap between indoor and outdoor grades start to disappear. Another reason outdoor climbs feel more difficult is because it's hard to distinguish the holds. A canvas of rock is a lot more challenging to decipher than an artificial wall with holds screwed on. Because of this, we often spend a lot of time and energy just feeling around for a good hold. If you're sport climbing outside, expect to climb at around half to a quarter of the pace that you would normally climb indoors, especially if you're trying to onsite a route. As fun as climbing can be, it also carries the sobering reality of risk and danger. When we move from the controlled environment of the gym to the uncertainty of the outdoors, we must redouble our attention and respect. I'll leave you with some key points to ensure a safe and fun outdoor experience. Make sure your rope is long enough for the route. Tie a knot at the end just in case. This is a very easy measure to take in preventing an irreversible mistake. Don't be a hero. If you're in a position where you're risking a ground fall, be sure you can make the move. Even Adamandra, the best climber in the world, has done a sport route with this second draw stick clipped because the sequence below was too low percentage. Look for any X chalk marks on holds. This denotes that a climber has deemed the rock to be loose and potentially breakable. Don't pull on those holds and find out. Be diligent with how you place your crash pads. Any loose seam or exposed rock between pads can result in a bad injury. Always have a spotter, and always be attentive in your spotting. Generally speaking, it's always better to back off and reassess than to take an unnecessary risk getting hurt. Know your limits and understand the consequences. Climbing is an amazing sport. It's one of the few that offers equally enjoyable yet drastically different experiences when done in a gym versus outdoors on real rock. For those looking to make the transition, I hope this video helped to educate and prepare you for this new experience outside. I'll leave you with the wise words of my climbing sensei he spoke whenever I was about to climb a route. Be safe, try hard, and have fun. In that order.